The breaking news, it is official. The UK's Brexit process has begun then. The EU President Donald Tusk received a letter signed by Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May, kick-starting what is to be a 2-year-long, hard-fought negotiation on the terms. May says she's hoping for an ambitious agreement.
A few minutes ago in Brussels, the United Kingdom's permanent representative to the EU handed a letter to the President of the European Council on my behalf, confirming the government's decision to invoke Article 50. The Article 50 process is now underway, and in accordance with the wishes of the British people, the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union. This is an historic moment from which there can be no turning back.
I can tell you Donald Tusk is speaking about it now. We'll hear his thoughts shortly, but let's go straight to London. Polly Boyker's there. Polly, no matter how you look at it, a huge day for Britain and a huge day for the EU.
Yeah, and the letter with what is called Theresa May's wet signature has been delivered to Donald Tusk in Brussels, meaning that the EU has now formally been told about Britain's decision to leave the club. It is a moment that's likely to go down in history books because so far the EU has only gained members. Britain is the first to leave, and it's the first to use this Article 50 get-out clause from the EU rulebook. And of course it's prompted mixed feelings in Brussels and a variety of carrot and stick approaches to the UK as a result. One strategy in Brussels at the moment is to leave the door open for the UK in case it changes its mind. The EU Parliament is drafting a resolution that says that if the UK decides that all of this was just one big crazy mistake, well, London can still stop the process as long as the remaining member states agree. The exact text for the resolution hasn't been finalised, but the idea in Brussels is to strengthen the hand of the people here in the UK who are still trying to halt the Brexit process. On the other hand, we're already seeing the stick, a sterner response from Brussels. And we just heard Theresa May in that speech talking about an ambitious new free trade deal with the EU, but a copy of an EU resolution relating to that has already been leaked to the media. And it appears to show that the EU is flat out going to refuse to strike a free trade deal with the UK within that 2-year negotiating window that the UK and the EU have before Britain officially leaves. So there's already a conflict brewing there. And we've seen a number of these not so thinly veiled threats from senior EU figures, implying that Britain should be made an example of in these negotiations in order to stop other countries from contemplating doing the same thing. If last year that was seen as a pretty remote possibility, right now it is quite a tangible threat. If you look to France, Brexit appears to have catalysed the anti-EU movement there. You've got Marine Le Pen, the leader of the Front National. She's widely tipped to get to the second round of the French presidential elections, and she's vowed to hold an in-out EU referendum for France if she becomes the leader. And she refers to Brexit as the first domino in the toppling of the European Union. You've got growing anti-EU movements in Italy and Germany as well. But obviously the prospect of endangering the very core of this European club isn't something that Theresa May is taking into account. It's not a consideration for her. She's said throughout this entire process that she is simply implementing the will of the British people. And here in Britain, there is a sense that, bar a few notable exceptions, even those politicians who were vehemently against Brexit are now having to come to terms with it.
Took 9 months after that vote to officially trigger it. It's happened. Polly, while you're on the line, I mentioned just before we went to that Donald Tusk was speaking. First off, he had to say there's no reason to pretend this is a happy day. And he went on to say that Brexit's made 27 EU members more determined and more united than before. It's going to be a tough task that the EU and Theresa May have ahead of them to try and thrash out what's best for all sides there, isn't it? We'll let you get back to it in London, Polly. Keep your ear to the ground. If you hear any more, let us know in the coming hours.